Ladies and gentlemen, nobody is talking about how security camera footage will be if he's indicted, and I don't think that he will be, but there's a possibility because Democrats are on the ropes. There's a recession. It's going to get worse. Interest rates are going up as the economy is shrinking. Oil prices, like I've been saying for months, are going to go back up, or a month and a half or so, are going to go back up. And their Brent crude is already above $100 per barrel. We have housing that's tanking. We have the economy, like I said, shrinking, interest rates going up. Corporate profits will eventually decline. The market already tanked 1,000 points the other day. It will go way below 30,000 in the Dow. NASDAQ and S&P will get hammered. And unfortunately, we'll see layoffs because real wages are down 4.4%. And you have inflation that's cutting into people's savings. And up until recently, consumers, corporations were passing on the inflation, the cost of doing business and goods and services onto the producer price index was being passed on to the consumers. Now, eventually, inflation will get to a point, whether or not it goes up, if it just remains around 8.5% to 9.1%, that's going to eventually cause profits to come crashing down because consumers are not going to continue to spend in the manner that they've spent. We had $10 trillion in fiscal and monetary stimulus pumped into the economy. That's all evaporating right now, especially with interest rates going up and inflation staying where it is and the economy shrinking. They have no choice. It's almost like they have no choice but to indict an innocent man because they set up an innocent man. They say, well, the Kremlin colluded, or he colluded with them. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. There was no evidence that he ever did. And James Clapper even told Chuck Todd, oh, we have no evidence that this was in March of 2017 before the Mueller probe. Mueller probe found nothing. Mueller probe did not indict anyone for conspiring alongside foreign intelligence officials. Then the Steele dossier was literally purchased by Clinton. She paid FEC fines. The Democratic Party did as well for using campaign money to pay for the dossier, which was completely fabricated. He should never have been investigated at all. When was the last time an incoming Democrat was investigated by the intelligence agencies of an outgoing Republican? How about never? How about the media would never allow that to take place? But again, the issue here is that he has security footage. If he's indicted, he'll use that in a court of law. He could easily point to, there's almost certainly, if there's no law enforcement, and I support law enforcement, but they're in every business, in every industry, there are bad apples. So you have people like Comey, Strzok, McCabe, Clapper, Brennan, who sided with the political party. It's pretty obvious. The fact that Democrats don't care says only one thing, that the intelligence officials that sided with them bolstered their contempt and disdain and bias against Trump. Okay? You don't investigate a person based on a dossier purchased by by the person's adversary. Okay? None of these journalists would want to lose their job because a rival journalist gave their boss a dossier that said that they were in a Moscow hotel room. But anyway, think about that. Hit subscribe to this channel, ladies and gentlemen. Hit subscribe to the Stock Market Crash channel, H.A. Goodman's other channel. And also, if you want to give a super thanks, the super thanks is below. If you want to go ahead and support my work long term, my Patreon is below, ladies and gentlemen. But think about that for a second. Think about the fact that security footage can be used. And he's the only one with actual video footage. He's the only one that can actually utilize video in a court of law. They can't prove that he ripped up any documents. So that's what let's just say those boxes have ripped up documents. They can't prove that he ripped them up, and that's not Trump's style to tell somebody else, rip those documents up. So if somebody's going to say, oh, well, he told me to rip them up, that person is going to be implicated. But again, there's no intent to really, Clinton had private servers with top secret intel siphoning classified data outside of the United States government, and Comey stated quote, although there is evidence of potential violations of the statutes regarding the handling of classified information, our judgment is that no reasonable prosecutor would bring such a case. He acknowledged that there were violations of the law. Clinton did break the law. He acknowledged that, but he said, no reason. He made up a prosecutor. He fabricated an imaginary prosecutor and said, not only are they fabricating Steele dossiers against Trump, but they're fabricating imaginary prosecutors. I mean, this is a fantasy world Democrats have created. But they elevated Trump. So when they say, there was a concerted effort by another country to interfere, they elevated, they wanted Trump. Politico, right before November of 2016, published an article. This is the man they always wanted. Then the DNC emails showed Bernie Sanders was cheated. They don't even have a functioning primary system, okay? They cheat in their own primaries. Then Bernie Sanders was cheated. They blamed another country. Finding out about it was a plot by another country to interfere. This is how the sick and twisted way of doing things. It would be the equivalent of your significant other cheating on you, and then you finding out, and then the significant other saying, you know what? It was a plot by that person who told you. It wasn't my fault. I didn't really do anything wrong. It was a plot by that other person to inform you of that, whatever. So what Democrats do is they say, our corruption is a grandiose effort by another country to inform you of our corruption. They did the same thing with Hunter. Now they're accusing Trump of what Clinton did, but 10 times worse, 100 times worse. Trump was a former president with not only the top security clearance, the ability to classify and declassify at will. He stored those documents for a library. He could have been storing documents that were incriminating. There could have been documents that were incriminating pertaining to Strzok and McCabe and Clapper and Brennan and all these people. That could be one of the reasons that he didn't give them to the National Archives, and one of the reasons that Garland and the Bureau went into Mar-a-Lago. Who knows? The point is, he was a former president who was going back and forth with the National Archives and the Department of Justice and the Federal Bureau of Investigation. He wasn't hiding anything. He has the goods on them in terms of that security footage. Like I was trying to say, as I got off into a million different tangents, I support law enforcement, but there's no law enforcement raid into anyone's home or anyone's property that always goes perfectly. Almost certainly, you have one agent breaking protocol. If they try to indict him, that security footage will be front and center. Okay? If they say, you know what, he did this or that without any evidence, because they don't have evidence he destroyed any documents. They've reported that he ripped up documents. Based on what? Where's the evidence? With Trump, there's no evidence. That's why he hasn't been indicted yet. They could indict him on something he didn't do. So that's possible. Just like they didn't indict Clinton on things that she did and that Hunter did. They didn't indict Hunter. So they actually commit crimes. They don't indict. Okay? And Trump didn't commit crimes, but they're still investigating and they despise him. You have this is a very peculiar time in American history. You have late night, Jimmy Kimmel, Stephen Colbert. You have corporations. You have all of Hollywood. You have social media algorithms all siding with the Democratic Party. You have people forcing out band members. You have bands. Okay, you have rock and roll punk music you have music that's been tarnished by this contempt for Trump. Okay, you have people who think it's a virtue to dislike Trump when we had record highs in household median income and a record low in poverty. We had a record low poverty rate. Poverty is like 14 to 15% now. It was at 10% under Trump in 2019. Then Democrats and media took hold and made everyone hysterical made half the country hysterical about you-know-what. Okay? Anyway, they tanked gleefully the economy, but we had a great economy under Trump. You vote for Trump for a great economy. You vote for Trump for a great foreign policy. Got us out of numerous regions of the world. If you want to vote for Biden, you want to vote Democrat, you're actually voting, this is not hyperbole, you're voting for a prolonged recession. We're in a recession now 2 years into Biden's administration. not Trump's fault. It's directly their fault. Anyway, he has the security footage, and it's only a matter of time. If they indict him, that security footage will be shown to the jury. And the jury will they'll have to prove that he himself ripped documents. They won't be able to do that. And they'll have to prove that he removed documents in a malicious manner as he was negotiating with the National Archives and everyone else that knew he had those documents. Give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe right